Welcome, everybody, to another episode of To The Rack with Mac here, live on YouTube, Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, as well as AWSM Radio and AWSMradio.com. I am one of your hosts, Nick Mac Daddy Mac, and with me is, as always, my co-host, Jeff, Basketball for Brains. How you doing, my man?
Oh, I'm great. It's a trade season. It's all-star season. The NBA is on fire right now, so let's get into it.
Absolutely 100%, like Jeff said. It has been a crazy day in the NBA, Jeff. I know you have got a lot to say about the first thing we want to talk about here, and that is the trade. Early morning, quite early morning trade between the New Orleans Pelicans and the Portland Trail Blazers. New Orleans sends Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Josh Hart, Luzada, Thomas Satoransky, and picks to the Blazers in exchange for CJ McCollum, Tony Snell, Larry Nance. As a Blazers fan, you and I differ in opinion on this, so let's get it started. How are you feeling?
Well, kindly, I'll touch base on the Pelicans first. I think they made a good move in getting CJ McCollum. I like that fit there for their team. And CJ McCollum, he's going to get good run with Brandon Ingram. If they could be that 1-2 punch, Zion might see something worthwhile to stick around and get involved with. So anyway, I think good move by the Pelicans. The Blazers right now, word on the street is trade Damian Lillard. Trade Damian Lillard. Well, have we not been hearing that same tune for the last couple of years? I am just walking a different beat on this one. I am so excited that the CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard backcourt is no more. Respect to CJ. I'm a fan. But it was not working. They played too similarly. They lacked a defensive threat. So it's just really nice that it's actually broken up at this point. Whether they trade Damian Lillard or decide to build something around them with their now assets building up and massive cap space. By the way, McCollum's a double-edged sword at how good that trade was. They broke up the backcourt and they got rid of the huge contract. So very exciting as far as a Blazers fans go, just because it's so unknown and the possibilities are out there. And who knows? Damian Lillard, I'll finish with this. Damian Lillard is going to finish his career a Blazer.
I mean, that's not like the hottest of takes because, as we know, quote unquote, Dame doesn't run from the grind, right? However, I got to ask you this about the cap space. I understand that you're building up assets to possibly make a run at a trade for, another star to pair with Damian Lillard. A couple of things. In the trade market, for somebody that you could see successful surrounding Damian Lillard, it's not exactly the greatest of markets right now for somebody you could get for what the Blazers have. I get that Simons has made that leap this year. They're building up draft capital. They have Nurkic, who's another, I guess, nice little piece they could kind of add on for somebody. But who do you think that they could pull? Who do you think that the Blazers could realistically out there, maybe this offseason, pursue with the assets they've obtained?
I'm looking at the teams who really look at themselves as title contenders. I don't want to shop at the bottom of the barrel and go for a De'Aaron Fox, withstanding the trade that just happened today. But I want to go after.
We're going to get to that.
I want to go after a big fish. I want to go after this disgruntled star. Is James Harden out of the question? I don't know.
I think he might be if you're not including Dame in that deal.
But imagine Anthony Simons, Yusuf Nurkic, and a nice draft pick for Harden. Now you got the Dame Harden backcourt, and you figure it out from there. But that's just, there can be all sorts of situations that come up in the NBA. Donovan Mitchell from Utah. If they don't look like legitimate contenders, and they've been strong the last 2 seasons.
That's a good call. That's a good call on that, Jeff. I can't really disagree. I'm on record how much I think Donovan Mitchell is disgruntled. So good call on that one.
That's true. If you're aware of that, you're just like, if they really don't think they'll get over the hump with what they're doing, because nobody's going to Utah. Nobody's going to go play with Mitchell and Gobert. It has nothing to do with the players. It just has everything to do with the situation. It ain't happening.
But I'm glad you said that. No one's going to Utah. With that $60 million in cap space that you freed up from letting go to CJ, Are people look at like going out of their way to go play for Portland now? Because I don't think so.
That's not the route to go. We got to use these assets and absorb a big contract. We can take on anybody's contract. So money is not an issue. It depends on the team who's going in rebuild mode themselves. So, if or the situation like Mitchell, but the route to go, the Blazers, please do not go into free agency and expect to sign that big name. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen ever.
The completion of this trade, again, CJ McCollum ending up in New Orleans, forming a quote unquote big three, if you want to call it that, with Zion, CJ, and Brandon Ingram, lets me know, quote unquote big three. But you never know. I said the same thing about Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, and Giannis, and they ended up winning a damn championship. So I was completely wrong about that. Anyway, this lets me know that CJ for Ben Simmons or CJ and a little bit more for Ben Simmons was never really on the table.
I can't imagine it would have been. Philly and that's the excellent part about this move for the Blazers is McCollum didn't have that value around the league. He is limited as a player. He's not a defensive threat. He's very smooth and skilled offensively. He's got a great handle. He generates points. He can get his own shot. And he's a little bit of a playmaker too. He's a nice passer. He can get others involved. So on the offensive end, he's really very nice, but he's not that next tier level. He's not that elite level. So
now there's another rumor going about your Portland Trailblazers. They clearly are not done. I think they make one more move, as a matter of fact, to really, even if they don't get the guy at this deadline, I think they still work towards setting their roster up to get the guy. So, but this rumor, it's interesting because this guy wants to be a number 1 or 2 option, most preferably a number 1 option. And that I think he would be from the minute he gets acquired, if he is so. And that is Jeremy Grant from the Detroit Pistons. Of course, until Dame comes back. This is barring Dame's health, of course. But what would you say to Jeremy Grant joining that team, teaming up with right now Anthony Simons? I think Nurkic would probably be a part of that deal as well, right?
Well, let me say this about a guy like Jeremy Grant wanting to team up with a guy like Dame, if that was the case. And also anybody else wanting to team up for Dame for that matter. As fans, I think we all really understand that Damian Lillard is that guy. When the ball is in his hands, the game on the line, you want that man taking that shot. So I want to know, is it understood in the league the same way? Does Jeremy Grant say, I'm going to join the Blazers and really think that he's going to be taking those shots? So I think there would be, you almost accept Damian Lillard could make you feel like the number 1 option for 46 minutes. But when it comes down to it, it's going through Dame.
Absolutely. I have a theory about Dame, by the way. If he does get traded, I obviously think he has probably 100% of the Blazers management ears to where he wants to go. And I don't rule this out. This might be a little bit of a hot take. Clip this for the TikTok for community to go off on this one. But I think that Dame is going to end up with his buddy out in Boston, combo him with Jason Tatum. Maybe they make a move for a more solid big than what they got right now, because I'm not really a big believer in the Robert Williams, Al Horford duo as a championship, front court. So that's just my opinion on that. But if you put Dame on that Boston squad, I would like that. And I think you probably send Jaylen Brown back to the Trailblazers.
I can accept Jaylen Brown. The Blazers, if they do trade away Dame, which I'm going to go on record, they don't. I think Dame's finishing his career a Blazer. But if they do trade
you already said that.
Yeah, they are going to lose that trade in the sense of there's a handful of guys that have the type of value Dame has. He's that dude. So if we got a Ben Simmons, if we got a Jaylen Brown, totally okay with that. Those are great young budding stars, something to work with for the future.
Absolutely. I mean, I can agree with that. But I think about, all the rumors that were swirling at the Olympics that caught my ear, caught my eye as well. And I do take some of that stuff into account. Not all of it, obviously. I do take what the players say themselves more seriously, especially at times like this when it controls their future. But the CJ McCollum trade, not the only big trade of the day, Jeff. And this one is the one that really shocked and stunned the NBA community, according to Woj anyway. Now, this one is Sacramento sends Tyrese Halliburton, Tristan Thompson, and Buddy Hield to the Indiana Pacers for Domantas Sabonis, Justin Holiday, and Jeremy Lamb. What a deal. This one kind of out of nowhere. There's a lot to unpack here, so I kind of just want to give my 2 cents first. I think the initial overreaction was, oh my God, I can't believe the Kings sent Tyrese Halliburton. They chose De'Aaron Fox and his big contract to pair with Sabonis when they probably should have decided to rebuild, quote unquote, around Sabonis and Halliburton. Everybody just take it down a notch and let's look at this from a different perspective for a moment. Domantas Sabonis is no slouch. It's not like you're getting some scrub. You didn't trade him for, a tier C, tier D power forward in the NBA. This guy he's an all-star. He's not he's a former all-star, if I'm correct.
Yep.
So, I mean, he's averaging 19, 12, and 5 on 58% field goal, 65% true shooting. Yes, he doesn't shoot the 3 great, and that might worry you in a Sacramento Kings offense. He's 32% from 3. But Domantas Sabonis, just his playmaking, he gets it from his dad. It's in his DNA. His dad, Arvydas Sabonis. If you don't know who that was, look him up, folks. I feel bad for you. One of the best playmaking bigs we've ever seen until, a man named Nikola Jokic was born. But, also Chris Webber, a couple other guys. But this is a great trade for both teams because we knew from the jump that Indiana was going for a rebuild. They said it. We knew Domantas Sabonis was going somewhere.
Secrets out.
For me, the backcourt of Chris Duarte and Tyrese Halliburton, that is a hell of a way to start a rebuild. Am I wrong?
No, you are not.
So what are your thoughts initially on this trade? And then, we'll break it down some more.
I don't know if either team won or lost. I feel like they both went very neutral in the trade. And Halliburton,
Amen.
I do consider a loss to the Kings, but Sabonis I consider that much of a plus. Like the negative and positive kind of equal out. And I guess if you're just kind of crossing your fingers like that, Fox and Sabonis, that tandem, that's gonna work. I don't know what I've seen. I'm not just like, that'll be a great tandem. I got to see this. I'm curious.
Well, you know what? Sacramento's not done either. There's no way they're done. Obviously, they're still trying to get rid of Marvin Bagley, and they'll get rid of him for nothing at this point. Take Marvin Bagley. But Harrison Barnes, I think, is still very much in the running for getting moved. I think Rashawn Holmes has, despite the contract extension this offseason, I still think he has a shot at being moved. They try to move away from that contract and possibly, chase some free agents, just like Portland opened up their books. So I think there's a lot of things Sacramento can do from here. But like you said, I don't like the fit of Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox, but they are Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox. They're smart basketball players. I have a feeling they can make it work to an extent, but I also think there's more work to be done in Sacramento.
The West is deep, man. Like how good can the Kings be with what they've got going on? But you know what? You're right. They're not done. Harrison Barnes, I think, is a very interesting trade piece. Think about him landing in Detroit, and maybe he's a better like him, and then Jeremy Grant ends up like.
Ooh, that's a crazy move.
So it could be interesting what kind of value Harrison Barnes brings to the table. I couldn't say, and then it's kind of pathetic to say, but like the Blazers now have all the cap space. They could absorb a contract like that. I don't know if that's a guy that he'd be like maybe the third punch, but you'd still need to get that other guy for Dame. But anyway, the Kings, they got more to do.
Absolutely. Folks, this is a reminder. You are watching and listening to the Rack with Mac here on YouTube and AWSM Radio and AWSMradio.com. Here talking about the crazy NBA trades that happened just today. I feel like they happened just so we had some extra content to talk about here tonight on To the Rack with Mac. A lot more to get to here. I want to say this before we move on into our next topic. Shout out to NBA teams, because every year it seems that we are going to get a very active NBA trade deadline. And honestly, aside from Vucevic being moved to the Bulls last year, nothing really shook me up. But so far, every day for the last 4 days leading up to this deadline has been active. And it's been big moves, in my opinion, that could really help a contender, or besides the Indiana and Sacramento trade, but rebuild for the future in a very big way. I think, this is great. Superstar shakeup for the league. And I think it's great, again, for that word that you used this week, parity in the league.
Ah, you saw that one. Yeah, no doubt. The NBA that's why it's the best. It's why the entertainment all the time, the off season, the in season, it don't matter. And so far, yeah, this trade season is starting off with a nice little bang.
Absolutely. So, you guys know what we like to do every week here on To the Rack with Mac. We talk about all the trending topics like the trades, and we're going to get into the All-Star game a little bit later. But we also like to talk about the trending teams in the news, whether it be good or bad. And tonight we are going to start with the absolutely god-awful, and that is the Brooklyn Nets. Losers of now 9 in a row after getting absolutely mollywopped by the Brooklyn Nets at home tonight by 20-plus points. Boston started that game on a 28-2 run, going up against the scintillating starting five of the Brooklyn Nets that consisted of Patty Mills, Bruce Brown, DeAndre Bembry, Kessler Edwards, and the one and only Blake Griffin. I mean, this team, where is this big three? 16 games together, 9 losses in a row, part-time Kyrie, disgruntled Harden, injured KD. Jeff, what the hell is going on in Brooklyn?
Yeah. If you know basketball, team chemistry matters. It matters when you start vibing with your teammates, knowing the spots they're going to be, knowing what you want to do and work your way through a game. That's why you practice all the time, to keep that rhythm up. You don't just show up to games and play off talent and everybody works out alone. No, you do it together. And so I will harp on the point that you hit on already. 16 games the big three has played together. I don't know if anybody needs a reminder, but the Brooklyn Nets and Kevin Durant and James Harden, that team is built and ready to win now. They are win a championship this year mode. I am just like, would be freaking out if I'm in Brooklyn. If I'm in Brooklyn and I can't get my guys on the court together, it's just absolutely panic time right now.
Listen, if I'm Sean Marks, the GM of the Brooklyn Nets, I am making big-time moves at this deadline. I don't know what the hell he's doing. I mean, you have to shake this up at this point. You have to. I would reach, you know what I would do? And honestly, this is not a knock on Kyrie's beliefs. It's not a knock on his play on the basketball court, because he's playing spectacular. In the 12 games that he's played, he's averaging 23, 5, and 5 on pretty damn decent shooting splits. So I would look at around the league what you can get for Kyrie, because 23, 5, and 5, like I said, is really tough to replace half your season and half your playoff series. You have to do yourself a favor and try to get a package for him. Screw all this James Harden talk. If you could get a good package for Harden, so be it. You keep Kyrie, you deal with the part-time stuff all you want. But in my opinion, you got to see what you can get for Kyrie too. Because like I said, like you said, team chemistry matters. And this team is never going to get chemistry when he's only allowed to play half the games. Harden out with quote unquote hamstring soreness. KD not going to be back till well after the All-Star break. This is a team that is a sinking ship, like you said, and it is time to hit the panic button in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I'm glad you agree on that. Just like I said, I would just be freaking out at this point. And it's just, Kevin Durant There's all these different reasons each guy is not on the court. And it's just like, how is that supposed to come together? How many super teams have we seen falter? You cannot just win championships off talent alone and get lucky. And hey, look, all three guys are fully healthy and ready for the playoffs. We're going to win a championship now. The Heatles in 2011, they didn't come through. The 04 Lakers with Gary Payton and Karl Malone, Shaq and Kobe, they didn't come through.
You had to bring that up?
I had to bring that up. Yeah.
I'm a Gary Payton fan, man. You know that.
Super teams falter. And a lot of times it's that first season that they come together. You know, you can talk about the exceptions to the rule, but that's why they're exceptions, because in general, you need some time to come together, usually a season. They've got 16 games together. I am panicking.
Yes, absolutely. And here's what I want to say. This team was in first place on Christmas. Christmas Day, this team was a first place team. Since Christmas, they have slipped to just 4 games over 500. They are now in the 8th seed in the East. Granted, that race is so close. They are in the 8th seed, yet they are only 5.5 games out of first place. So they can still turn this around. But again, panic button, big red button, do something now, because there are no signs of turning this around. I mean, look at the depth of this team. Look at the kind of defensive lineup that they're putting out there. Don't even look at the offense without KD, Kyrie, and Harden, because that's an abomination almost to think about a team without those 3 guys on the offensive side of the ball. But on the even on the defensive side of the ball, your depth, you have Bembry, you have Blake Griffin, you have Nick Claxton, you have James Johnson, you have LaMarcus Aldridge, Cam Thomas, Kessler Edwards. These guys are not built to contend without those 3 guys on the court, period. And they're not built to even compete remotely with those guys on the court.
Well, when you load your team up top heavy, you know it's not going to run deep. You got to round out your roster somehow, and you got 3 guys that you're heavily invested in.
Absolutely. I mean, so before we move on to the next topic, I just want to ask, realistically, and given what we've seen this season so far, the entirety of the season, not just the last month and a half or 2 months, but where do you see Brooklyn ending up? What's their ceiling this season?
I'll be surprised if they make it to the conference finals. I don't know if they're going to get out of the second round. I think on talent alone and some of the experience those guys do have, they're going to get out of the first round unless they get the Bucks or the Heat. You know, you cannot be an 8 seed and match up with the top tier team. You know, maybe the Bulls if you've got 2 of your guys ready, but they need the right situation. They need to move up in the playoffs. I'm looking at the Nets ceiling at this moment in time as a second round exit.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the Bucks, as we speak and are on this broadcast right now, they have tipped off against the Lakers. The first quarter has come to an end, and the Bucks have a 14-point lead on those Los Angeles Lakers. Giannis with 13 points. Middleton, who we are going to talk about in just a couple moments here, with 11 points as well. So, let's get into something that went down. We took a week off last week, and while we were gone, the All-Star starters were announced. And in between that time as well, the reserves were named. Injury replacements were named. So we're going to unravel and unpack a lot of that right now. Jeff, any initial issues with, let's start in the Eastern Conference All-Stars?
My initial issue with that was that no new Charlotte Hornets players were listed. I was torn between Miles Bridges and LaMelo Ball, who I'm going to go with in that situation. I gave the personal nod to LaMelo, as much as that makes me want to throw up in my mouth. But hey, you got to give it when it's deserved. And so the Hornets not having an all-star selected, I did not appreciate at the time. I would have knocked Fred VanVleet out while they were in the 8th seed. Times changes. All of a sudden, they're in the 6th seed. That sounds like he's way more deserving. But at the time of the list, not having a Hornet, that was a miss.
Listen, we're going to talk about those Toronto Raptors after we unpack all this all-star stuff. But let me tell you, man, I didn't really have a problem with East, but like you said, I felt that either or LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges definitely deserved it, but not for the guy that you named, Fred VanVleet. I thought he earned that spot. I thought that Mr. Chris Middleton, given all the time he missed, and I have another player like this in the West that will shock you. I will get some backlash on it, but let's focus on Chris Middleton. He's missed some time due to injury. He's dealt with the COVID issues, but in my opinion, he's not playing better than, say, a Pascal Siakam. He's not somebody I want to see in the All-Star game over, let's say, a Miles Bridges, a Jarrett Allen, if you will, who is having, a phenomenal season over there in Cleveland. Cleveland as a whole having a phenomenal season, and I'm sure we will get to talking about Cleveland on one of the episodes here in just a little bit. Shout out JB Bickerstaff and the Cleveland Cavaliers. What a tremendous first half of the season you're having. Fun team to watch.
True that.
But yeah, I thought that, listen, there's no doubting Chris Middleton's talent. There's no doubting who he is as a basketball player. He proved how clutch he was on that championship run last year. He proved time and time again that you can go to him in the big moments if Giannis is having a quote-unquote off night. But in my opinion, the All-Star game should be what the All-Star game is, and that is to celebrate the best players of the first half of this season. And the three guys I named, in my opinion, have been just slightly better than Chris Middleton.
So Chris Middleton has played 43 out of 55 games. He's missed 12 games this year. I don't feel like that's an overly abundant amount to keep him out of the
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Just in my view of how much time he's missed. And you know what? He gets the benefit of the doubt. He's a champion. He's a multi-time All-Star. He's playing winning basketball. He's playing winning basketball. And I could appreciate wanting to stay in this year as far as all-star selections goes, but he's proven who he is, and he's more impactful than his numbers speak. So if you just want to look at averages, I think that's not an exciting way to go. Chris Middleton contributes to winning basketball, and I thought he was definitely deserving.
Here's my thing. I get all that. I get that he's contributing to winning basketball, but you can argue the same thing with all three guys that I just named. I mean, you got Miles Bridges, who is my front runner right now for most improved player so far. I think that gets a little bit of a nod over Chris Middleton winning a championship last year. You know, like the way Miles Bridges has improved this year.
Answer me this. Who's better? I mean, I don't know if you're answering it right now, but who's better? I'm not even going to specify when. Chris Middleton, LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, Fred VanVleet.
Oh.
Or you had one more guy, right?
Jarrett Allen.
Or Jarrett Allen. Who's the best?
Pascal Siakam, too.
Fine.
Siakam. Throw
him in. Who's the best of those players?
I mean, you probably have Chris Middleton ranked the highest. You're right.
How about that?
But okay, yes. But again, that you're looking again at the overall body of work, in my opinion. You're not looking
but
at
I'm saying who's better right now? Who's better now?
Right now, I can make an argument for Pascal Siakam being better than Chris Middleton.
Oh, get out of here. I got
for sure.
Bring it. What do you got?
Siakam right now is putting up 21, 8, and 5 on a team that has stormed back since he's come back. Since he's come back, that's the impact he's had. And not only that, but his shooting percentages have gone way up. 52% from the field, but 35% from three. It's back to that 2019 playoff run looking Pascal Siakam. 21, 8, and 5 as a 4 who handles the ball a lot. He's running transition offenses a lot as a 4, quote unquote. But I don't know. And they are all the way up at the 6th seed. I understand that they are a great basketball team. And again, we're going to talk about
They do. As you say that, I want to name drop Gary Trent and Fred VanVleet.
Oh, we're going to talk about them. Don't worry. Because
a nice little squad up there. But
OJ Anunoby, the rookie Scotty Barnes. We're definitely going to get there. But Siakam has definitely been one of the leaders of that team. Now, say you take out Fred VanVleet, for me, if you took out Fred VanVleet, you'd have to put Pascal Siakam. You'd have to have one of those two in the All-Star game, given what they have been able to do as a duo and as a team and as individuals this season.
I'll say the Raptors do only deserve one All-Star at most. There's no way I'm giving both those guys.
Hey, I get it. I get that. I get that whole part of it. But I'm also looking for a more. See, there's different when I go to All-Star. When I watch the All-Star game, I want more of that energy, that crazy, just fun highlight reel stuff. That's the All-Star game, right? Middleton doesn't do that for me, but Pascal Siakam's personality and his energy and the fun he has playing basketball, that would do it a lot for me.
Hey, is Chris Middleton the Tim Duncan of small forwards?
He might be.
He's very professional, very good at what he does.
Very quiet.
Silent
assassin.
Boring.
Silent assassin. But I have that same argument with somebody from the Western Conference, and I can't wait to get into this with you. So before I get into that, what is your Western Conference big standout issues, if you have any?
I think it's just how poorly the bottom of the West is doing. Like, how are the Kings not better than they are? How are the Blazers not better than they are? The injuries have really slowed us down, but they got some guys back. Like, there should just be more guys competing in the West, and it's just a disappointment of this young development. I'm very disappointed in the Kings this year.
I am too, and I named them as like a sleeper to possibly make some noise. I was so big. I'm a Mavericks fan, and I wanted Richaun Holmes in the offseason. I thought, don't give Tim Hardaway Jr. that money. Give it to Richaun Holmes. I might have been right about that, considering how poorly Tim Hardaway Jr. has played this year.
Maybe,
but it's not like Richaun Holmes is a world beater. But anyway, Halliburton, who had just started hitting his stride. I mean, I didn't even get into it when we talked about the trade, but that guy's last 20 games, he's averaged 19 points and 10 assists, and he's shooting the lights out from 46%. So, I mean, he has been incredible the last 20 games. De'Aaron Fox, poor start. Very poor start considering what we have expected out of De'Aaron Fox. Love the young guys they got over there. Very young team, Davion Mitchell. I thought their biggest mistake was bringing Luke Walton back to begin this season as the team's head coach. Horrible decision. Horrible decision.
See that. Yeah, they were too late to pull the trigger on letting him go.
They don't have the front office or the scouting. They don't have the coaching to develop that very young and inexperienced team. And you need veteran, winning, successful leadership. And Luke Walton was not the guy to try to mold De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, Richaun Holmes, Marvin Bagley, Harrison Barnes, all these guys into winners. That is not the guy.
Yeah. They've been the disappointment. And then we've had a great surprise in the Memphis Grizzlies. Ja Morant has emerged as MVP candidate. It's that has cooled off a little bit as legitimacy goes. But the Memphis Grizzlies, JJJ, I mean, they've got a little something there.
Man, love
and he's finally. I honestly had started to throw in the towel on Triple J last year, and you know what? He shut me right up. He took those steps that everybody saw the potential. He's a pretty polished player himself. I like what he brings to the table, and this season he's really stepped up. So the Grizzlies. I mean, who thought they'd be doing what they'd be doing? I think they got to be a surprise for everybody.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody over there has stepped up their game. You're talking about Desmond Bane and the leap he's put on this year in talks possibly for most improved player. His name's definitely going to be on that list. Jaren Jackson Jr., like you said, definitely top 4 or 5 in defensive player of the year this year. He is an absolute block machine, interior presence on the defensive end this year. He's been a beast. Dylan Brooks, who hasn't been healthy. We forget about that, but that is like that team's little engine that could. He's like the little Energizer bunny on both sides of the floor. And he's incredible for that team. That team is fun to watch, but they are going to be sneaky. They're going to be a tough out in this year's playoffs, that's for sure, because I don't see them dropping off. They've been playing phenomenal team basketball, and it's just been incredible. And I love the Grizzlies. I love the Grizzlies. So I'm so glad we're giving them some love here tonight.
Have they ever landed a big time free agent? They're not one of those teams. They're just like the Blazers and Jazz. Nobody's coming to play for them. So, I'll be curious.
Maybe Chandler Parsons. Was that a big signing at that time?
Yeah, that's about as big as it gets, unfortunately. So
I
about as
miss
big.
the old Grizzlies squad with Zebo and Mike Conley early
Oh
in his
yeah, Grit and
career.
Grind Grizz, no
Oh
doubt.
man, love that squad.
Yeah.
Always shout out the Grit and Grind Grizz. But another team that we briefly mentioned this whole time, as a team, I really want to talk about. We don't even have to bring up Siakam and Fred VanVleet anymore, but they have the second longest winning streak in the NBA, and that's the Toronto Raptors. I mean, they have some guys really stepping up their game, and I'm actually one of those guys is Gary Trent Jr. averaging
Yeah.
18, 2 and 2 on 43% shooting, but shooting 40% from beyond the arc, just over 40% from beyond the arc. Young kid, 22, young gunner, straight up bucket so far this season, especially the last couple of months. But an interesting quote from Gary Trent Sr. this past week, and I don't know if you saw that, so I might be hitting with you fresh, but he said he had never seen his son so depressed and so uninterested in the game of basketball as when he was in Portland, and now he's the happiest he's seen him as a professional or since his college days. What are your thoughts on that? Did you see that as a Blazers fan night in and night out, that he was disinterested in any way?
No, it just he didn't have an opportunity here. We had Lillard and McCollum playing in front of him.
Yep.
So
You
yeah.
also had Norm Powell there too.
No, that was how the trade happened.
That's right. That's right. Sorry.
No, you're good. But like you're not going to get run in Portland. So yeah, you got playing time. That made you happy. You know what? As a Blazers fan, I know way too well. And I think I feel the Blazers, correct me if I'm wrong, but they have to have the respect around the league as far as having a level-headed sound fan base.
I would say so.
We're not a cuckoo fan base. Like we just kind of live in the Northwest and do our
I think there's a little bit of greenery legalized up there, so that might have something to do with the mood in
we
Portland.
Call that the Bill Walton effect.
The Bill Walton effect, baby. Shout out Bill Walton and all his endeavors. We love you, Bill.
Shout out Big Red.
Keep being you, brother. But anyway, I want to say this about Portland. You're absolutely right with level-headed fans, but I think as time goes on right now, after seeing what this team's ceiling was and getting to that Western Conference Finals a few years ago, that seems like forever ago. And I think fans are really getting tired of it, and they're becoming increasingly frustrated at the moves being made. They're not seeing the bigger picture like you are. So I think that has a lot to do with there's some pressure over there to get some things done.
Well, Dame is a guy who's in his moment right now. Like this is win now for Damian Lillard time. So I understand the urgency and the time pressure everybody's putting on it of like, hey, we got to get it done because Dame's ready to deliver right now.
Yeah. But again, we started talking about the Blazers and we were trying to get into the Raptors here. So I want to kick it back to what Gary Trent Jr. is doing in Toronto as far as his play, because he is definitely turning into a young stud in this league. But check this out. Pascal Siakam, as I mentioned before, 21-8-5. Fred VanVleet, 21-4-7, 42% from the field. Again, another 40% three-point shooter. OG Anunoby averaging 18-5-2. Scotty Barnes averaging 15 points a game. This, I know we talked about it with the Phoenix Suns a couple episodes ago with 8 or 9 guys, all the scoring being spread out. We got to give a shout out to Toronto here because they're doing some spreading out of their own with 2 guys that are, scoring leading the team in scoring, but it is spread out nonetheless. And they are playing some great team basketball. And I think it's worth noting because I'm a guy that likes defense. I know you think steals is an overrated stat. I trust me, I get that, but it speaks to the Toronto's defense when your defensive rating, which I hate, is you're 22nd in the league in defensive rating, yet you're 3rd in the league in steals and you're 2nd in the league in turnovers forced, and you're top 8 in the league in points off turnovers. So that shows me something as a team defense, and I have to attribute a lot of that to their winning ways as well.
I dig it. And this is a great opportunity for me to clarify how little I think of steals for individual players. I'm going to agree with you, Nick. As a team stat, I love possessions. Steals is a great team stat, but it's the defensive scheme. You're not getting on ball steals. If you're a weaker defender and you're having the opportunity to play the lane, like then good for you. You're going to get a lot of steals. You might get backdoored on a few times and give up some buckets, but they don't show that stat. So I overrated on an individual player basis, but on the level of a team, that's a great stat to be high on.
Absolutely. I agree with you. So the Toronto Raptors been playing great. Also want to shout out really quick. I forgot to name my Western Conference guy that I don't think should be there. And I'm going to save it after I shout out these two teams. I apologize to everybody that I didn't shout that out yet, but I will. But shout out to the Warriors who have won 9 in a row. Klay Thompson, so far, you're proving me wrong. You're making me look like a fool. You've been playing pretty damn good the last 5 games, especially your last 6 games. You're averaging, I think, 18, 19 points a game, shooting very well, finding your mid-range, finding your 3-point shot. So, for right now, you have shut me up. Just keep doing it and be the guy that everybody thinks you're going to be, or you're going to be hearing it from me. Anyway, Boston Celtics as well have had a hell of a run since Christmas time. They've won 6 in a row. They are right back in the thick of the playoff race in the East. They, since Christmas time, are statistically the best defensive team in the league. Also right up there is my Dallas Mavericks. Shout out Jason Kidd for instilling that calm defensive demeanor that we all know he didn't have before this. I don't know what happened to Jason Kidd and who took over that man's body, but that is not the same Jason Kidd that was losing his mind in Milwaukee. Anyway, but shout out to the Celtics too, man. I heard there's some trade rumors swirling around Dennis Schroeder and Marcus Smart. Supposedly the Bucks want Dennis Schroeder and Grant Williams for Dante DiVincenzo, which is they're really trying to rob the Celtics on that one, which is wild. but no, that was a serious rumor that was out there today. Even Shams talked about it a little bit. Talks were there. Obviously not going to happen. Also hearing in the news Malik Beasley maybe on the move. Also hearing that THT in a first-round pick might land Josh Richardson from the Celtics. So the Celtics could be looking to acquire Talen Horton-Tucker. And as somebody who is a Mavericks fan and had 1.5 years of Josh Richardson, that is a mistake, Laker fans. So do not get hyped up from Josh Richardson joining that squad. He's not a shooter. He's not a defender. Don't let them tell you any different.
Best situation, it's a neutral move. Like who's better between THC and you're giving up a draft pick? Like, no, Lakers losing that trade because they're not getting better. They might not get worse, but they're not getting better.
All right. So do you want to hear this? Who my Western Conference?
Who'd they mess up on?
So first of all, I think everybody overreacted to the Andrew Wiggins thing. Now, I want to let it be known that the way Wiggins is playing, I think he deserves to be an all-star.
Oh my gosh. This mic is on fire. Go for it.
But as a starter, Karl Anthony Towns should have been there, in my opinion. For sure, I think that it should have been Cat's spot. We need to talk about how much that fan vote is worth. Anyway, I wouldn't mind if you took Wiggins out of the lineup, by the way, because I do think there's some guys in the West that could have taken their spots. I have a problem with Rudy Gobert being an all-star. I have a problem with this. Yeah, I know. 3-time defensive player. I get it. I know. And he's probably, second place right behind Draymond right now. I get that. But right now, the Utah Jazz are in disarray, and I am so low on the Utah Jazz. You know this already. I think they're absolute frauds. I think they're a first-round exit this year. I think Rudy Gobert got exposed last year, and he keeps getting exposed this year on the perimeter. Great interior defender. But that is not today's game. Rim protectors are not as valuable as they once were in today's NBA. Now, a great offensive big man, yes, very valuable in the NBA. As seen in the MVP race, as we have 3 big men at the top of the MVP race with Giannis, Jokic, and Embiid. Very valuable offensive big men.
Sure.
But again, this is my thoughts on this. I don't want to see Rudy Gobert in the All-Star game. What good is the best defensive center in basketball? Let's call him that. The best defensive center in basketball. What good is that in a game where they score 200 points? Shout out to my guy Funny Fat Boy for making this point as well. But for me as a fan, I'd rather see Triple J in that game. I'd rather see Anthony Edwards get a shot at the All-Star game. He's been playing tremendous this year, taking that second-year leap that, I mean, I don't even think we saw Anthony Edwards taking this much of a leap his second year, but he really has. And he's got that Minnesota Timberwolves team along with Cat and D'Lo in a play-in spot. So, yeah, I'm just not a big Rudy Gobert fan. I do understand why Utah had to sign that contract and give him that much money to stay because, like we've been saying all episode long, it seems to be the theme. Nobody wants to play in Utah. And I got no fight. I got no fight about this earlier this week. I said it on the show last week. Donovan Mitchell, I don't think is going to be in Utah very much longer. There's reports that him and Rudy Gobert are rifting. They are a first-round exit from blowing that whole damn thing up, in my opinion. Danny Ainge is running stuff over there now. Good Lord, God bless you.
That's a hot take, Nick. Utah blowing it up if they get a first
round exit from blowing it up. Listen, they were already talking about, before he tore his ACL, they were already talking about trading Joe Ingles. Jordan Clarkson and Bogdanovich having down seasons from last year. Remember, Ingles, Clarkson, 6 and 7 man of the year, right? I mean, that team is underperforming. Mike Conley can barely stay healthy. He's definitely not the Mike Conley of old.
He was an all-star last year.
Can we? I don't even want to bring that up.
Can we fix last year?
I don't want to revisit that, man.
Go back and fix it all.
They just felt bad on that one. They just felt bad that he'd never been an all-star. And I was like, all right, this is probably the last year that we're going to be able to justify making him an all-star.
We'll talk about it another time, but that would be a good list to make is whose legacies got ruined by being a one-time it might be better to be
DeMarai Carroll,
the best never all-star than to be a one-time nobody all-star. I'd rather be the best to never make the all-star game than to have been generously given one. So
I'd definitely rather be Jamal Crawford than Mike Conley, for sure.
I had no problem with the Western Conference reserves who they picked. I hated Andrew Wiggins making the All-Star game, not just starting, but making the All-Star game. The
fans decide the starters.
And the fans in the NBA, I don't know. The Golden State Warriors fans, congratulations, you guys came through. But it puts a sour taste in my mouth. If you need a certain number of games, I'm going with Anthony Edwards being more deserving than Andrew Wiggins. Being the Timberwolves are right in the thick of the fight, and he's the second best player on the team. Andrew Wiggins, he's the third best player on the team. Draymond Green is more important to what they got going on. And then he's played over 30, so it may not be enough games, but Anthony Davis should have also been in this All-Star game.
No, I think Anthony Davis, he missed way too much time.
You think that's too much time?
I think 4 or 5 weeks is definitely way too much time to miss, for sure, especially with that kind of injury.
I want to know, what is the most amount of time a player has missed but while being named an All-Star?
I think Brandon Roy holds that record, if I'm not mistaken. No, Brandon Roy holds the record for missing the most games. He only played 47 games and still won Rookie of the Year.
Oh, that's a good one. That's what
that was.
Yeah. I'd be interested in knowing that one. But
I just want to put it out there right now, because we're going to put this argument to bed, and we can wrap up the show this way because we only have about 7 or 8 minutes left. But there seems to be this, although it is shrinking, this group of people that think it should still be a discussion between Anthony Davis and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that conversation has been dead for about 16, 17 months, at least. But it was definitely dead when Giannis dropped 50 in a closeout game, NBA Finals MVP, up there on the top of the MVP rankings again this year. And head-to-head is absolutely embarrassing Anthony Davis this season. I mean, tonight, just right before halftime, the Bucks are up 20 on the Lakers. Giannis has 15-5-5. Anthony Davis 6-3-3. I mean, Anthony Davis I haven't watched any of this game, but when they met earlier this season, he shied away from the moment. And that was the matchup we were all waiting to see. Anthony Davis was in a groove. Giannis was, just starting to get back in his groove. They go head to head, and Anthony Davis shies away from the moment, drops the defensive assignment against Giannis, doesn't take the ball right at Giannis. Giannis taking the ball right down Anthony Davis's throat a few times. I mean, it was just a display of, like, you saw the changing of the guard before our very eyes. And if there was any doubt about it, it needs to be done now.
Yeah, I agree with so much of what you said. If you're going to be that guy, Giannis is, when you need somebody to step up to the challenge, you need your best player to do that. And Giannis is that guy for his team. And I'll say Anthony Davis, after winning that championship, I easily had him in a higher spot than Giannis on my ranking.
Absolutely.
At that moment, we're talking about a college champion, a gold medalist, Olympian, a guy that had huge numbers in New Orleans, and he comes over and wins a championship his first season, easily greater than Giannis at that moment. And Giannis said, I don't even think he looked at the challenge of Anthony Davis. He took on the challenge of the NBA. He said, you know what? I'm not scared of you. I'm going to stay in Milwaukee. I'm going to build this thing here. And he stepped up to the plate and delivered on like very few players can. Giannis is in the all-time great conversations right now. He's in the top 30 conversations right now. Anthony Davis, laughable. If you go anywhere, if you want to call Anthony Davis a top 30 player on time, I might laugh in your face.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I'm right there with you because I was looking at it, even just by the numbers. The version of Giannis we're seeing right now, I think, is better than the best version that I've seen of Anthony Davis. Easily, right? I don't think peak Anthony Davis, whether you want to call that 2020 in the bubble or whether you want to call that, back in New Orleans when he was absolutely killing it. I think Giannis is just such way better playmaker. I think he's even a better defender, although Anthony Davis, I'll give it to you, great defender. You can give Anthony Davis shooting, but if you go by percentages, you can't even give him that this year. When you look at the 3-point shooting percentages, can't even do it. So I just don't think there's very much to do or say about that debate anymore. But I'm glad we touched on that a little bit. Now, with only a few minutes left here on To The Rack with Mac on AWSM Radio and AWSMradio.com. Nick, Mac, Daddy Mac, Jeff, Basketball for Brains, closing this one out. It is time for our one parting thought, whether it be a hot take or any kind of predictions that we have for the upcoming week till we see all of you again and you all can listen to us again. Remember, AWSMradio.com. What do you have something to leave us with this week, Jeff? Because I'm going to keep it simple. I'm just going to pick the winner of the 3-point contest and the winner of the dunk contest. So I'm keeping it simple this week. No hot takes.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I don't have a hot take, but I gotta close on circling back to the Blazers. Just as a fan, I can't appreciate enough that the backcourt of CJ and Dame is no more. It just was a going nowhere, dead end backcourt, and to move that contract, people are gonna say they should have got more value out of it. You don't think the Blazers have been looking for value for McCollum for the last year and a half? So they were able to find a team that it worked out good in getting some talent, some draft picks. And I'm excited for the Blazers' future. And I do believe they are building around Damian Lillard, not in full rebuild mode, and going to move him.
Absolutely. Well said. Very well said, Jeff. And like I said, I'm going to keep it simple this week. First of all, I have to say that the All-Star weekend, I am looking forward to more than I have in recent years. The dunk contest is full of really young, athletic guys with absolute hops. Jalen Green, Obi Toppin, Cole Anthony. I forget who the fourth one was.
I think it's just the three.
No, I think there's one more, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm actually picking the rookie to win that contest. I'm picking Jalen Green. I think he's going to redeem himself for the absolutely atrocious first half of the season that he's having starting his young career. And I think everybody needs to put the baseball bats down on Jalen Green a little bit. Kid is going to be great. Very young, very early. He's on a horrible team out in Houston with a losing mentality. Let's relax on Jalen Green. But I think he wins the dunk contest. Anyway, and the 3-point contest, I'm going to actually pick somebody that we talked about a little bit earlier. I'm going with Desmond Bane from the Memphis Grizzlies. Steph is not there to defend the title this year, so I'm going with that. But I also have to say, shout out to the Rising Stars Challenge. Apparently, we're going to have 3 teams of 3. We got rookies, sophomores, and the Antetokounmpo brothers as going head to head in that challenge. And the I'm sorry, the Rising Stars Challenge is the 4 teams picked by NBA legends out of a pool. That was the skills challenge, was the Antetokounmpo's rookies and sophomores. But the Rising Challenge might be the most exciting part, with Gary Payton, James Worthy, Isaiah Thomas, and Rick Barry all picking teams, pools of rookies, pools of shout out to my guy Stin, pools of sophomores, and pools of G League players. 4 games, 4-on-4, going to be fun to watch. Can't wait to watch it. Going to be a blast. I'm looking forward to all of it. So shout out to the NBA for making the tweaks to the All-Star game this season. What a great episode of To the Rack with Mac, Jeff. I know we ran it solo this week, but I have a feeling we'll be able to book some more bigger guests in the coming days and coming weeks for our audience out there. Want to give, again, a special shout out to AWSM Radio, awsmradio.com. For Jeff Basketball for Brains, I am Nick Mac Daddy Mac, and this has been To the Rack with Mac. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.